Welcome back to Sunday Evening Devotions. Well, we don't often think of Christmas and the birth of Christ and the temple and the tabernacle all together. But really they do fit together. They fit together because, well, Jesus as Immanuel, God with us, fulfills what the tabernacle and the temple represent. And that's our story tonight. You know, we're at the end of the book of Exodus, chapters 35 to 40, and we have Moses then coming down from the mountain the second time. He has the plans for the temple and the worship that God has given to him. And the people give free will offerings, and we find the description of the building of the tabernacle and all that's involved in that. Well, what that's all really about is a fulfillment of a promise and a promise as well. In other words, well, it all started in the garden when God was with man, and there was God in the presence of man and man in the presence of God. And then you remember sin came in and messed all that up, and we lost that, and we were separated from God. Well, so the tabernacle and then its successor, the temple, are fulfillments of that, but they're only pictures and promises of a real communion of God and his people, which would be realized in the Lord Jesus Christ, who would be Immanuel with us, and of course when he brings us into the presence, the very presence of God. So Moses comes with the tabernacle plans, and they're being built, and it's interesting too that in the fabric and the curtains that are woven, and even in the temple in Solomon's time, you find garden motifs, you know, the pomegranates and the plant life and things like that, because they're all pictures of what was lost, paradise lost, and the garden itself. So we have then these ideas come together as the tabernacle is constructed. And you may remember, as we talked about the various parts of the tabernacle, the Holy of Holies being the very throne room of God, which is a picture of the heavenly throne room, and as well the holy place where the priest would enter and minister, and then there was the outward court where the sacrifices were made. And so we saw those things, we talked about the furniture and all these things. Well, all this really is a picture of what Christ would do for us. In fact, we're told, if you look at the book of Hebrews, particularly chapters 7 through 10, the writer of Hebrews talks about how Christ fulfills all these things. The priesthood, the tabernacle, all these things, the temple, they're all pictures of the redemptive work of Christ for us. And that's what Moses is giving us in the latter part of Exodus, the promise of Christ to come, the sacrifice who would be made, the priest who would come and be a faithful high priest, the one who would enter into the very throne room of God, not just a picture or a copy, but the reality itself. And this brings us then really to Christmas, doesn't it? Because, well, it's Christ come in the flesh, come to be with man. And because he came, and as he told his disciples in John chapters 14 through 16, that if he left, the Spirit would come. So now God dwells in us by the Spirit, and we have this down payment, not a full fulfillment of the tabernacle, but a down payment of God being with believers, a down payment of what heaven will be like, of what it will be like to be truly and really and completely, body and soul, in the very presence of God and the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, that's good news.